And we're stuck with, again, no protection and no way out. So it was really, really scary.
How did it get resolved?
Huh. That's the interesting part. So the funny thing was that there was an American military base, actually, one of the biggest Air Force bases ever built. Costs over $100 million to build, just 2 miles from our little hotel in Agadez. We were the only foreigners there, apart from aid workers that sort of live behind barbed wire and in compounds. But we were the only foreigners staying in a hotel. This hotel, interestingly enough, was actually built when Gaddafi came to visit in the 90s or late 80s. And it was a rundown hotel. We were there, again, no protection, nothing. And the military base is just 2 miles from us. And we'd tried to get inside the base to film, and we'd been denied access to the base. But when the coup happened, we managed to get a contact inside and started asking them, we're here with no security. Can you guys come and help us and figure out, take us into the base, something. We're all American citizens, except for our fixer, our local guy who was actually from Mali, but everybody else was American. And they were stuck in the situation that all the other countries had started calling this a coup, but the U.S. government did not. And because the moment they called it a coup, they would have to remove the military, possibly remove military, remove their aid from the country. And that's the last thing you want to do. So they couldn't they didn't want to evacuate us. They didn't want to call it a coup. They didn't want to get us out of there. Their hands were sort of tied. That's how they told us. And we started seeing slowly as the days started passing and the situation was deteriorating. We started seeing, the French were sending planes to take out all the French nationals, the British, the Portuguese, which is where I'm a double nationality where I'm from. And I'm on the phone with the ambassador for Portugal telling me there's a plane for you. There's like seats for you in the capital, but the capital is 8 hours away or 12 hours away by land, and we can't go because it's too dangerous and no airplanes would take us there. And eventually, we realized that the only way that we'd be able to get out is if we took matters into our own hands. So actually, my team in LA found an evacuation company willing to fly a plane in the middle of the night to get us out.
That sounds like a Chuck Norris movie.
Oh, it was
evacuation company.
Oh, it was actually Argo. Have you watched the movie Argo with Ben Affleck about the guys in
yeah,
Iran?
No, I did watch that. Yeah.
And how they don't know until the last minute if they're going to leave or not. It was exactly that situation. So we get to the airport in the middle of the night. So they told us that we had to be at the airport at this time, that we had to take security with us because the pilot was refusing to land unless we had security there, police. The police was supposed to show up. They never did. We arrive at the airport. It's sunrise, and the military is there waiting for us. Yeah, it's one of those. And they start creating all sorts of problems, saying we don't have the right paperwork. They're not going to let us leave. Meanwhile, there's this amazing local man who worked at the airport that I'd met a few days before when I went there to try to see if there's any plane leaving, let us know. And so I stayed in touch with him. And I had told him that it was my son's birthday, which was partially not true. It wasn't his birthday, but he was about to leave camp. And I've got this tradition as a working mother who travels all the time. We have this tradition that I always pick him up from camp, and it's performing arts camp. And so I told him, sorry, this is a very long story.
No, it's good.
So I told him, so he was there to help us, but the military was also there, and they didn't want us to leave, and creating all sorts of problems. And then we see the plane land, and we see the pilot come out, and we see the military start walking towards the pilot to tell them that we didn't have the permission to leave. And my fear was that the pilot was immediately going to turn around because he had told us that we had 20 minutes. He was going to spend 20 minutes on the ground, and if we couldn't get into the plane, he was going to leave without us. And they get there, and he starts talking to them, and I'm on the phone with the team in LA, and I'm freaking out and telling them, oh, this is horrible, this is happening, they don't want us to leave. And then my husband's on the phone with me as well. He's telling me, I see the pilot's name, and I think he's Portuguese. Run to him. And I ran to him at the same time as a military, and I started speaking to him in Portuguese and telling him the situation and that do whatever you can to get us out. And the military can't understand Portuguese, so there was a secret communication happening between me and him. And he was Portuguese, and he decided to take the risk of getting us on the plane, and we managed to get out of it. But the guy from the military was still yelling as the door closes, but so was the guy that I'd met at the airport, who turns to me, yells my name, and I look back, and he says, hey, Mariana, say happy birthday to your son. So in the midst of the craziness, it was also a beautiful moment of connection and humanity.